Hello everyone. This short video will give an overview of Homework 1. This homework will make sure that everyone's up and running with MIPS and MARS. We're just practicing some basic instructions that you would have learned by watching and coding along with videos 3 and 4. So make sure you do that before starting the homework. You're going to create a MIPS program. In the data section, I tell you what to set up. And in the code text section, you're going to prompt the user for their name and save that in memory. There's an example just like this in the videos. And then 3 different times, not in a loop because we haven't learned loops yet, just one after the other sequentially, you'll prompt the user to enter an integer, read and store it, and then you'll calculate 3 expressions. So obviously in these expressions you could simplify this algebraically. I don't want you to do that. I want you to actually go through the tedious steps of doing each operation and then combining them. So after your calculations, you're going to display the user's name and give messages for the results. At the bottom of your program, I'd like you to add some comments with test values for A, B, and C that you ran. So this will just show the TA that you did test with various numbers. Show at least 2 sample runs, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So what you're going to turn in is you're just going to upload your .asm file, and we'll take a look at that in MARS in a minute. Here's a grading rubric, and here's a sample run. So I used some very boring data. You could run this the first time just to see if you got the same numbers, and then you're going to have to make up your own interesting data. So the first thing the program does is prompt the user for their name, and then 3 times it's going to prompt the user to enter an integer, and then it's going to echo out the user's name. So notice when you print the user's name, it's going to cause a new line to go to the next line. Don't worry about that. There's a way we could fix that, but we haven't learned enough coding to do that yet. So don't worry about the fact that your name is on a line by itself. And then you're going to print out some kind of message here, your answers are, and then the 3 answers. You're going to have to print a space between the 3 answers so they don't run together. And you can do that with one of the syscalls to print a single character. Now, I will say that if the user types in something that's not a digit, like they type in X here, that will cause an exception. So we haven't learned how to do that, so we're going to make the very insane assumption that our user can actually follow instructions. So don't worry about the case where the user did not actually type in numbers. And also don't worry about checking this range. We haven't learned enough to do that either. Here I am in MARS with a sample solution. I'm just showing you a little bit of the code here. So to get started, you'll go to File, New, and you should put in some comments with your name. Once we get a grader, the grader may want you to name the program something like Homework 1 and then your net ID. But we'll cross that bridge when we get a grader. Alright, notice the assemble button's grayed out because I haven't saved it yet. And then once we've saved it, we could run it, and it doesn't really do anything. Alright, so let's go back and look at Homework 1. I did want to show you this because it's the preferred way I like to set up my .data section. I like to have all the words first. Then I have the input buffer I've set aside for the user's name. You can use more characters if you want, but everything in MIPS is best if it's word aligned, and words are 4 bytes, so it's good to have this be a multiple of 4. And then after all of that, I have my null terminated strings. In the text section, I like to have a comment for every few lines of code. In other words, not randomly, but just for every step that I'm doing. In fact, I'll often write the comments first and then fill in the code. And I like a space before the comment to visually separate each step in the program. 10 of your points in this assignment are for making good use of white space and also having comments. My personal preference is to have the code lined up like this. Sometimes students will have code that's all the way over to the left and all mushed together, and I just think it's more readable like this. So that's what I mean when I say good use of white space is make this readable, and also white space between steps of your program. Alright, to run it, we go up here and hit Assemble, and then we go over here and hit Run. And you see I had a run here before. Put in my same boring numbers, and we see our output. So what you can do is actually copy and paste your sample runs that are hopefully more interesting than this, at least 2 of them, into the bottom of your code, and then just comment out those lines by putting a hashtag at the front of the line. Alright, I think that's everything that you need to get started with the program. I'm sure there's some things I've left out, and you can always ask questions in Piazza.